flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide, so you may as well come on and give him a try. 'Cause he's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't even do without him. I won't be without him. He's awesome.
Greetings, people of God. Welcome to ZMR Ministries. I'm Pastor Z, and thank you for joining me for another episode of EntrepreKNEWWHAT. Now, y'all know every Tuesday we highlight an entrepreneur for the month, and we talk about their company, we talk about how long they've been doing it, what exactly it is that they do, how they got started, some rewards and challenges, and some tips to help you out. So today we have a very special guest, my dear friend, a colleague. She just my girl. Y'all help me welcome Mia Johnson. Thank you, Mia. Thanks for coming. Listen, so she's a jack of all trades, y'all, right? Just a little bit, and she's highly educated. So, I'm sitting across from her, even though I know all the answers, but I want y'all to know because I just want y'all to know how dope my friend is. That's the bottom line. So tell me about your background, Mia.
So I have a master's in counseling,
Mm-hmm.
and with that, I currently am working for Child Protective Services. So with that, I've been with Child Protective Services for almost 15 years now. And I've done some other things in between that time as well. I've also done some counseling with children, adolescents. I've done some drug and alcohol counseling, some diagnosis, things of that nature, some couples counseling, things of that nature. But I've always come back to crisis and abuse with children.
I was going to say, it seemed like you deal with people with issues.
Whole lot of issues. Whole lot of issues. So I've been doing that almost 15 years. I recently shifted over from investigation background to managing contracts that come in through our state.
Right.
And so, it's been a very different journey because I've always been on the side where it's just, real fast paced, get in there, assess the situation, make sure the kids are safe, and if they are not, get them to a safe situation. Now I'm on the business side of things, and really my background in the community is what afforded me the opportunity to have that door open, because on paper I typically would not be qualified.
Right.
But once I started doing some of the other things in the community with organizations and things of that nature, it opened the door for me to be qualified to do what I do on the business side of the state. So as far as my organization, I started one, I would say about 5 to 6 years ago, called Girls and Pearls.
Right.
And with Girls and Pearls, the idea for that was to be somewhat of a sounding board, something of a consulting type of a company that would allow leading ladies to be able to get some solutions, some strategy, because we wear a lot of hats. I mean,
yes,
we wear a lot of hats.
That's so true.
And of course, society expects us to get out there and perform. We are super women. And so what it allows is for there to be a safe space, whether it's for counseling or consulting for strategy, whether it's some type of crisis intervention or anything along those lines. And with my ministry background, it allows me to minister to a lot of women who are in ministry. So I end up hearing and seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly
Crisis
behind those doors of ministry. But one of the things I tell people all the time is you have to be a good, safe space for people like that to come to. So Girls and Pearls serves as a safe space for leading ladies, because when you're strong, you don't know where you want to go to find your vulnerable moments. So it's a strategy company, it's consulting, and we help everybody from wives to first ladies to entrepreneurs, just professionals, business women, families, whatever the case may be. But family is at the heart of Girls and Pearls, making sure that the family is intact. So we're leading ladies, but we're also bonded to our families.
Right. So you guys, I'm just sitting here on the inside. I'm like, yes, girl. I'm trying to hold it in, but I love her company. I remember when you launched it, and she had this. Mia, she a little bougie, just a little bit.
I'll take it.
And she launched her company, and I was super proud because It is so true. We do wear so many hats, right? And sometimes we don't have an outlet. And so whenever she told me she was creating this company and then, she launched it and I really figured out or found out what it is that you created it for, I was just like, yes. Especially with her background, dealing with crisis, it just gave you the tools that you needed in order to assist people who are, or other women, in other words, who are in a crisis, right? And that's crisis physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever your crisis is. Ain't nobody got to be hitting you upside the head for you to be in a crisis, right? Okay, so you are in corporate America,
correct,
and you have your own company,
correct,
but you're also the president,
charter president.
Okay, excuse me,
charter president. So
get me all the way right.
I'm the charter president, and I always say that because I'm the immediate past president as of October 17th of this year. I'm the proud outgoing president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the Dallas Metropolitan Chapter.
Okay.
So I'm the charter president. What that simply means is I had a vision for the city, for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and the purpose of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, if you ever go to the website, is we advocate on behalf of Black women and girls in areas of health, economic empowerment, education, public policy, things of that nature. We are advocates. And so what makes us a little bit different than other organizations is we are not necessarily community service oriented, although it's not to knock anybody who does community service. But what makes us a little bit different is we are advocacy driven. So, for an example, the best way I can explain it is if we were to attack childhood obesity, because that is something that is really, really big in the food deserts and things of that nature in the Black community. Instead of saying I'm going to volunteer at a school and pass out lunches, that's community service because there are kids who are not eating. The advocacy work would come into bringing in a nutritionist, doing a whole program to teach parents and children how to eat appropriately, teaching them how to go into stores that may not be Central Market or any of the more expensive organic grocery stores, but teaching them how to go into your typical Menus if it's still around, going into those types of stores and being able to grocery shop in your budget and still have a nutritional lifestyle. So we would contract with somebody to come in and actually teach a program and then follow up. We would also write public policy letters and statements to our senators and representatives to say we need more funding for our food deserts. So it's an advocacy organization. It's not just community service. We're going to go down to Austin. We're going to do legislative days. We're going to go to DC when the national legislative day comes up. We do that. It's more advocacy driven.
Right. That sounds so important, y'all. Let me just say, after all that she just said, I'm just like, that's real important. I'm like, yes, girl, y'all do that. Y'all legislate. Now, Mia, since you do wear so many hats, and I know we talked about that, you talked about your company and corporate, and even being the charter president, of such a highly esteemed organization. Now, did you get that from someone in your family? Because I like to ask people all the time, are you a product of your surroundings? Because most of the time, of course, people become what they see. Is that the case for you?
You know what? I can't say that I had someone in my family that I was like, you know what, I want to be just like that. I can't say that, although I love my mother, I love my grandmother, and so they're very strong women, and I'm a hood baby. I tell people I'm a hood baby. And so no matter where I go, my start was in the hood. That's just what it is. And so the one thing I can attribute to my mom is even though we were raised in the hood, she always made decisions to expose us to more. So she would take us to all the free cultural events. She would take us to anything that had to do outside of the hood to expose us to more. And so I've always been just that free thinking type of a person. As a kid, I was just real free thinking, but because of the exposure, it let me know that I could do what I could do at that time. So it kind of started with my first time traveling out of the country. Of course, at that time, my mom had never been on a plane, but she had exposed me to going to the White House. And so I did that in the 8th grade. You know, that came up and I had the opportunity to go to the White House. Prior to that, I was invited to the governor's mansion for dinner. And so she was allowing me to go and do things like that. So exposing me, even though she had never done it. You know, so I had dinner with then George Bush Jr., with the son. He was the governor at the time. So I had dinner with him, and then the next year I was in the White House, and I was doing things that my family was not. And then I started traveling, and then I started getting a passion for advocating in the community and just wanted to see something different. Because one of the things I always say is you have to keep your thumbprint to the pulse of the community.
That's good.
And if you don't have the pulse of the community, you can never help the community.
That's true.
And so when I started seeing videos, you know, the viral videos, where there's a, you know, journalist out there in the community talking, and they get the person that just is not the representative for your community, I started seeing too many of those.
And I'm like,
that person doesn't represent me.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I started saying, okay, I gotta do more between being pulled with ministry and knowing what's going on behind closed doors, because for whatever reason, I was trusted with very private secrets. I was given a lot of secrets for some of these leaders that y'all probably know. I had those secrets and how to consult with them and how to, you know, fix it and go in and really bring some strategy to it. And then from there, it was, okay, now I need to touch my community. So I can't say that I saw that necessarily in my family, but I can say that I was given the okay to be different from my family.
So when you made the conscious decision, because you didn't have that example, but that exposure was an influence. So walk me through that process, because a lot of people are watching and they haven't had that exposure. They don't have anyone that they're watching that can say, oh, well, I want to be an entrepreneur because, you know, my mom, my dad, or anybody else around me was an entrepreneur. Walk me through the process of balance, because you've had the best of both worlds. I've seen you run your company, chartering an organization, and doing corporate America, all while doing you as well in your personal life. Walk me through that process. How is that?
I can't say that I always had it right. You know, I didn't start off having balance. It's something I grew into. So in the beginning, I mean, I was a student, I was working, I was just trying to get out the hood, to be honest. My goal was, I can't stay here. That was my goal. And then once I got out, my goal was, okay, I've got to do better. And so what I started doing was just making sure that I made time for me. And so because I was in a very fast-paced, stressful job, and I was working in the field, I was working the night shift. So when everybody was asleep, you know, I was taking care of the stuff that you wake up and see on TV. That would be my shift. That would be my responsibility. And so I made it up in my mind then that I would always, no matter what time I got home from work, if it was 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, it did not matter. I always soaked in my garden tub with Nancy Grace. This is no lie.
Oh, Nancy Grace. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
In the background. I would soak in the tub with my candles and stuff like that, and Nancy Grace would be on at that time. What was the little baby name that was murdered by her mom or something in Florida? Casey and Kaylee. At that time, that story was like everywhere. So I would literally, even though I was coming off of the field of seeing craziness, I would come in, I'd soak, you know, get in my tub, my dog would sit right there and wait on me, and I would listen to Nancy Grace, and no matter what. And so that was my thing. And then I increased it to no matter what, I would see a movie on the weekends. No matter what. And so people, you know, teased me about it, you know, and all that, and people would be like, oh, your man is the movie theater, and, you know, I got all that. But that was my way of staying balanced. And then once my plate started filling with ministry, and then, you know, just different things I started adding to, because then I started writing, and then so it was a lot to add to that. So I just decided that no matter what I was going to do at that time, no matter what it was, where I was living at, you know, no matter what, I always dedicated something to me. And I still do that now. One of the things I learned in a postdoctorate class is something in terms of your, respected time and your non-respected time. And so I made sure that I set boundaries. And so I would tell family and friends, you have until 5 o'clock to call me with your problems. Yeah. After 5 o'clock, it shuts it down. Because I hear problems all day long. Right. So if you're calling me after 5, it cannot be for anything else. And then I set a boundary on my phone. I have it automatically goes to do not disturb after a certain hour, and it does not ring before a certain hour. Though I set those types of boundaries early on for people. And so when you have, a cooperative and a non-cooperative environment, because some people will say, well, Mia, I don't know how to get a cooperative environment. Right. You set your environment and you told people what your boundaries were and they respected it. That's it. And then, but what if I have a non-cooperative environment? What if I explain to my husband I need 30 minutes in the bathroom, uninterrupted, and then I will come fix dinner? Or then I will help the child with the baby with the homework or whatever the case may be, and they still disrespect it. What do I do then? And so what I would always say is then you find a way to take your 30 minutes. Right. If they won't respect it, then take it another way. Right. That's when your drives home get slower.
Or you pull over at a park. Eat you a burger.
That you find a way. If you're in a non-cooperative environment, then you find a way to get your time anyway, because that's just what you're going to do. Otherwise, you're going to be out of balance. True. Then your mental health is at stake at that point, and you're going to be in burnout. But you take your if that's what you need, take it. If they won't give it to you, take it. Right.
And you know what? Having a balance is so important, especially when you're an entrepreneur or you're an aspiring entrepreneur. It's like if you don't have that particular discipline, and it is a technique to it because it takes work, and sometimes it takes, balance to even get to a balance. It's a conscious decision where you say this is important.
Absolutely.
And you need it to function, or else everything in your life will be in disarray. Now, Mia, when you started Girls and Pearls, what were the steps that you took? Because of course there's someone watching and they're like, you know what, I have that passion in my heart to start a company like that as well. What's my first step? What do I do with paperwork? How do they get it done?
So I did Girls and Pearls a little bit different than I did National Coalition of 100 Black Women. Okay. Girls and Pearls is my way. Right. So I did it my way. I wrote out my mission. I wrote out my vision. I solicited branding. I did the whole 9 yards. You decide if you want to do an LLC. You make those decisions. If you got to get your DBA, your bank accounts, things of that nature. But with a nonprofit organization such as the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, we have to go about it a lot differently. Right. So now you're looking at writing bylaws and articles of incorporation. We had to do that. We had to file for the 501c3. We had to literally establish a board. We had to have elections. We had to have, your voting can't be messed up in any type of way. So you got to make sure your voting is tight. You got to put an ethics board in place. You got to, it's things of that nature. So I would say if you're trying to start any type of work, the first thing you want to do is write it down. Right. Write it down so one of the things I tell people when they're consulting with me about it is write down your plan, because there'll be a lot of things that come at you that are very good ideas. They are really good ideas. Right. But if it doesn't align with your plan, they're a distraction.
That's true.
So you can, people.
And that's for anything in life, right?
For anything. Yeah. But if you're specific, if your mission is, my mission is to, teach the homeless financial independence. That's my mission. And I'm just throwing something out there. Right. Teach the homeless financial independence and anything, economic empowerment. That means everything that you do should fall under that pillar. Everything. If somebody shows up and says, I want to have them in a fashion show, does that align with your mission? Right. It does not align with your mission. So your answer is no. Now we can support and we can come and we can do all of that, but it doesn't align with your mission. It's the same thing with my organization, with National Coalition of 100 Black Women. If it does not align with health, education, public policy, mentoring, things of that, leadership development, we can't do it. So I also sit on the national board for this organization as well. I'm the National Health Committee Chair. And so I get people who come to me all the time. They want to meet. We negotiate contracts, all kinds of things nationwide. And so when we are negotiating our contracts and we're speaking to these CEOs and things of that nature, and if you all follow the page, you'll see some of the people we've had on our panel over the last few months. But if they come to us, if my under health, our biggest pillars are obesity, cancer, high blood pressure. Those are our biggest things. But if
all affect the Black community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if someone comes to us and says, we want to talk about an ingrown toenail that always seems to affect, Black women. Everybody got.
Everybody get their thing. Yeah.
We're with the Ingrown Toenail Association in Dallas-Fort Worth, and we want to align with you to bring awareness.
Right.
I thank you so much for reaching out to me, but at this time that does not align with our mission and our vision. Please let us know how we can be of some assistance in any other way. Things of that nature, because if you don't do that, you're just doing busy work.
Right.
You're just doing busy work.
And so it's important to have tunnel vision. And, sometimes it's hard because we have so many other elements going on in our life. We do have distractions, but we also have things that are personal that hit you. And it's like you have to fight to keep that focus. And so sometimes that can be difficult, which is why you find a balance. Y'all heard her a while ago now. Now, is it what you expected starting this company and, with chartering the organization? Was it what you had in mind, or was it just a little different?
Was it what I expected? No.
Okay, first tell me why about your company, Girls and Pearls, and then the organization.
I think that one of the things that my old pastor used to say is God gives you the vision, you have to teach the others the vision.
That's good, yeah. Yeah.
And so I can see it a certain way. But no matter how I see it, there's going to always be somebody else who see it differently. But because God didn't give them the vision, they're not going to understand it. So you ultimately have to treat it as if that is your baby, and you have to groom your team. You have to teach your team and groom them to understanding what the vision is. And so initially, I think, especially in the African American community, I think I initially sought out and was like, okay, I'm about to do this and everybody's going to support it.
Negative. You couldn't have thought that.
I did, particularly because I support everybody else's adventures.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm always in everybody else's stuff. I sing for everybody, I preached everywhere a little bit, something, I done counseled it, So you think that now when it's time for you to reveal something that you are doing, that the support is automatically there.
Reciprocated.
And it's not. And so with Girls and Pearls, I remember I sent out a lot of invitations. There were a lot of invitations. And a lot of people was like, yeah, girl. And I walked in and I was like,
where are they?
What the heck?
Right.
What is this?
Right.
And then, of course, everybody kind of forgot about it, I always say Dallas has somewhat of an ADHD mentality.
It's sad but true.
Yeah, like when something new is there and shiny, they get, like, hey, this is great, this is beautiful, this is cute, and they're full on attention.
Right.
The next shiny thing comes along and they forget, and they go to the next shiny.
Right.
So it's like popcorn and all over the city. So I think I assumed that when I was doing anything, whether it was Girls and Pearls, whether I was chartering a chapter here for a very well-known organization, whether I was writing books or anything, that people would support it.
Right.
But probably my biggest supporters, even with my literary work, has been people I've never seen or met.
And you know what? That's typically all the time, though. I don't think that's just a personal thing. I'm sure some of y'all watching and you're like, yes. And sometimes that can get discouraging. And you feel like, what's the purpose of me doing this, until you see that other people are inboxing you, reaching out, and they're just like, oh my God, I love it. I know you don't know me. And you're like, oh,
okay.
Well, thank you. I guess I can keep going on. Yeah. And sometimes that is just, it's so disheartening, right? Because you said, let me say something about Mia. Mia is the ultimate supporter. She does come to everything, and even if she's tired, you'd be like, thank you, real child. But she shows up. But another thing that I love about her is no matter if she had a crowd, if she had one person, Mia was constantly branding. Mm-hmm. When she is full throttle in Girls and Pearls, you're not going to catch her without no pearls on. Yeah. I don't care what outfit it is. I don't care if she got on sneakers. She going to have some pearls somewhere. Either if she not wearing the pearls on her neck or on her ears, she has on sneakers that has pearls in it. The shoelaces has a pearl on it. Her ring has a pearl in it. I mean, seriously, you guys, branding is important.
Absolutely.
Because it makes people question it. After a while, people start noticing. I mean, she wears pearls all the time.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm a Zeta, so I was like, yes, girls. You know, but I admire that so much about you because I've seen how you've operated in every lane, right? And it's always with excellence to the highest degree. And I'm not just saying that because she's my friend. That's very serious. Because most people don't get that.
Right.
They don't get that. So what do you think is the advantage that you had, you know, in starting your own company and still working corporate America and being, you know, the charter president over an organization?
I think what I can say, because I just did an interview with, I think it may have been Dallas Weekly or something. I can't remember who the last person.
She's trying to downplay it.
No, I really
go ahead. She did an interview with Dallas Weekly.
I can't remember who it was. I just did an interview not too long ago, and the question was, what makes it a success? What was it that made it a success?
Right.
And they asked me what were some of the things I did not expect, and then how I was able to overcome it. And one of the things I said is that I always, no matter what, I always kept my ear to God and my discernment was sharp.
Yeah.
Because things will be coming at me so fast, and people would be plotting and doing little things and things of that nature, and they would have no clue that God has already shown it to you. And so He gives you what to say, He gives you the strategy on how to deal with it, and literally I have snatched covers off of things right in the middle of it.
Right.
And people are like, how does she know? And that has been the one thing. I don't respond to stuff immediately.
Right.
So when I get emails and when I get requests and things of that nature, it's going to sit in my email for about 24 to 48 hours. And then I'm going to draft the response. I have learned to have a few people, just a few key people that I can rely on for good, sound judgment, wisdom, because a lot of this stuff, this is new. It's not like it's not like I was born into a lineage of wealth.
Right.
Okay. I wasn't born into a lineage of entrepreneurs here. So, I wasn't born into a lineage of college educated people. So therefore, everything I do, I have to either hear from God or God has to send me somebody to point me in the right direction. So for all of them, for any of the successes, whatever it is I've done, I've made sure that I had at least one or two people that I can call and say, this is what's going on. Here's what was said, here's what was done. What do I need to do? This is what I'm thinking about doing. This is what I'm considering. I'm praying about this. And they were just a good sounding board, you know. So I think that what everyone needs to have, because of course, when you have that counsel, there's safety there.
Yeah.
When you start going off doing things on your own and just making decisions and just doing whatever, that's when you start messing up. So, you know, I encourage everybody, whether you're just now starting or mid-level or already there, get some people around you, get a solid board, get a solid core of friends, friends who are not intimidated by where you're moving. Because unfortunately, I used to hate the phrase when pastors or preachers would say, everybody can't go with you where you going. And I used to hate that because I would feel like, you know, it's my responsibility to get my sister and my brother. If I was able to get out of the hood and I was able to do this, it's my responsibility to bring them with me. But I know now at almost 40, some people will not because they refuse to change their mind. They just do. So you realize that you have some friends who you love them, you love them, but they absolutely will not shift their mind frame.
No.
And they will stick to what they knew 15 years ago. And when you talk to them, they're still doing what they were doing 15 years ago. And then, you know, you become a joke to them. And so, you know, my mouth is a little sarcastic from
Just
time to time.
let me insert that. Just a little.
Just a little bit. So when I become the joke, then no, you realize the joke's on you when I'm done. And then we part our ways.
Right. And you know what? And sometimes people don't go out of fear.
That's absolutely true.
The fear of the unknown, you know, and of course there are a lot of people who are stuck in their ways, but a lot of times it's just fear. They've never seen the other side, and they're comfortable where they are because it's safe.
Right. I mean, well, we did. We
right. No, absolutely.
Everybody, no one has ever seen the other side until you get to the other side.
Right.
So everybody started off with fear.
Right.
You know, but if you gonna, you know, stay scared and stay there.
True.
Or if you're going to go ahead and move forward, you know. So you almost got to take your lessons from a child, from a baby who is learning to walk, because they want to get over there to their toy, and so they're going to have to pick up their feet and walk over there and learn to get to the next place.
And they will scoot. They would do whatever roll. They would do whatever they need to do. And another thing I want to touch on, like you were saying, is, you know, there is the idea of, you know, once you make it, go back and get your brother and sister. And I'm all for that. But it's a difference between extending your hand and they taking it.
Right.
And you bring them and versus you having to get down and drag them.
Absolutely.
And when you drag them, that's when it becomes a struggle. That's when it becomes contention. That's when it becomes, you know, a burden. Versus someone saying, I want to walk with you, you know, I want to follow you, I want to pursue where you're going as well. You know, there's a big difference. So for those who heard that, it's just like, you know, what's wrong with that? We have to look out for our brothers. Some brothers and sisters don't want to be looked out for.
They don't. And you have to also remember, this is something I said this to my family, and they didn't like it. I said this and they did not like it. And I say this from time to time, even now. I don't owe you my harvest.
Right. Ma'am, please look in the camera and say that. Can you say that?
I don't owe you my harvest.
Message.
Okay? That's not something I'm required to give you.
Right.
You know?
Right.
One of the things that people used to tease me about is because I was going to school. You always in school. You just going to school, going to school. Oh, you know, you think you better, you deep, you holy, you this. And so they, all these names and stuff. And then when I start calling names back, now I'm wrong.
Right.
Okay, so don't be upset that I took my time and read pages, that I was doing this. You spent your time a little bit differently. So if you call me, you know, out of my name and I'm deep and everything like that, but then when I tell you mismanaged your vagina the whole time, now I'm wrong. That's not, it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. And
sarcasm she was just talking about, y'all, that's a part of it there.
But it's very true, because it will make you the junk and make you out like you're wrong for pursuing something different. And so when you just turn the corner a little bit and bring them back around and remind them, no, the harvest that I have is because I spent time not mismanaging something that God gave me to use another way.
Right.
But I spent time sowing my seeds, and now it's time for me to reap a harvest. One that I'm not required to give you. If I share it with you, I'm doing so out of the kindness of my heart.
Right.
But not because I got to. It don't matter if family, friends, whomever. I don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
And this generation is very entitled.
I was just gonna say that we live in a generation that's super entitled.
Very entitled.
Super entitled. And it's just, I was saying it to someone last week, and I said, just because you have a relationship with me doesn't mean you're entitled to my personal space. No, you're not entitled to anything concerning me unless I open that door. And so I think because of the world of social media, you know, people invite themselves into your world, and they feel like they have the right to know, the right to be involved, the right to be included. You know, it's we live in an inclusive environment. And so, you know, that's where the entitlement is drawn from, and selfishness. I'm just gonna throw that in there. But Mia, when it comes to, you know, overall, when you look at from the beginning to now, what would you say was the most challenging, or is the most challenging and the rewarding, you know, aspect of it?
The most challenging by far, when I can look back over a 20-year span of time, you know, because I've been doing this a long time now.
Very long time.
And I would say now, whether I was doing something as far as ministry was concerned, or Girls and Her, or whatever the case may be, probably the most challenging is the black ceiling. And so, and a lot
and
of times,
explain that because explain that.
A lot of the times we talk about the glass ceiling, okay, and that is that ceiling that women, and women of color, we can't seem to break through in certain areas. We have people who are blocking us, whether it's you can't get through your corporate America, you can't break through with, financially, you won't get the same wage, or they won't give you what is rightfully due to you because it's a glass ceiling. But then there's the black ceiling. Where we have people of color, people of our own cultural background, who because of their own intimidation and their own issues, their own trauma, because they've been through things, and once they get there, they swear they're not going to let nobody else do them a certain type of way. There's a black ceiling that's been put in the atmosphere. And even though we don't like to talk about it, one day I'm going to do a symposium about it, because we talk about black girl magic, but we don't talk about the tragedy of black girl magic. There's a tragedy of black girl magic that if I don't like you, and if you don't pass through this gatekeeper, because there are gatekeepers.
Yes, there are. Y'all,
if you don't pass through this gatekeeper, you're not going in.
Listen.
And so that is the tragedy of black girl magic. When black girl magic comes together, we have the ability to push anybody forward. We can lift anybody. Oh, but when the tragedy hits and we say cancel culture and we don't want you in, we know how to absolutely shut people out. And the only way that I've been able to maneuver through the black ceiling is strictly because God gave me strategy.
And favor.
Absolutely.
Because he will give you grace. The thing, girl, the thing about the tragedy of the black ceiling is, we always want to say, oh, there's room at the top for everybody. But when you get there, you don't want there to be room.
Exactly.
You say, this is my room now.
Exactly.
And it's so unfortunate because you get so many people, I call it, their pick. And it's like, you have their pick and then you have God's pick. And most of the time, people's pick is not God's pick. And so you have to fight through that. And it's not just, the black ceiling. Of course, this happens, cross-cultural, but we're speaking from our experience. Y'all, it's very real. It's very real. And all it is a spirit of intimidation. Right? It's arrogance, it's ego. People get where they going and then they don't want to share the space. Because now that space has become theirs. And, when that happens, it's like you have to fight a little harder. But we sitting at this table right now, so let's God. Amen.
No matter if I'm at the head or I'm in the middle, my gift is still at the table.
I'm eating.
I'm eating with y'all, whatever. So I think that's been the most that's been the barrier, the biggest barrier that I've fought. And no matter what, corporate, church, no matter what, it has been the black ceiling. It has not been the glass ceiling. It has been the black ceiling.
I get
But I think the success of it is that no matter what people have done to me, I've always had a bounce back, and I've always been able to remember my why. Why did I even start doing this? Why am I doing this? I never forget my why. And so even if a little black ceiling comes my way, or if a little gatekeeper, I had a couple tussles with some gatekeepers.
Those gatekeepers are demonic. Do you hear me?
I've had a couple tussles with them.
Babe, honey.
I have absolutely tussled with a few gatekeepers. But and a lot of them, there are some who, bless them, they are who they are, and they're good at what they do, and there's a reason for it. But a majority of the gatekeepers I've had to deal with has just been they don't want anybody to pass through them.
I was gonna say they don't want to lose their spot,
and that's been what it is.
That's just what it is.
And so my success has been that I can not only bypass them, but still get what I need to get done. I remember a pastor and his wife told me that everything I touched would be cursed. They were mad at me when it was hot. It was hot. They told me everything I touched would be cursed. And they were gatekeepers to the city, and they always announce themselves as gatekeepers to the city. I'm the gatekeeper. Anybody comes here, that's how they acted. And my last time seeing them, they told me everything I touched would fail. And then I heard about them a couple years later, And I won't say all of the things that was going on. I won't say, just in case one of us watching, I won't say all of the things that was going on, but there were so many things happening with this particular ministry that I literally prayed, like, okay, God, like,
you got me.
Yeah,
right,
like,
you got me.
Now had me lit up just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, because I felt bad for him. It was that bad.
Right.
And while I was progressing and succeeding and traveling and in another country and writing books and all kinds of stuff and, you know, all of that, they were getting hit left and right.
Their soundtrack was
and that word curse. The thing about it is, when people forget, it's a little detour. When people forget that when you send out a word curse, if there is no place to sit in when you send it out where it was intended to go, it's gonna come right back to where to the sender.
Right.
And so I was like, ugh, Lord, just lay off of this a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's when you know you've gotten to a healthy space. Because a lot of times, you know, and this, like you said, it's a little detour, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen at some point in your journey. And so you have to learn to persevere. Absolutely. And that's what I've seen, not just in our friendship, you know, but just our relationship as a whole. We have seen each other persevere through some real ugly stuff. Right, ugly, and it's been difficult, but like I said, we sitting right here at this table, so praise God, amen. Now, Mel, what do you think about a backup plan? Because, you know, I say this every month when I talk to my entrepreneurs. You know, there are some people who say backup plans is automatic failure, and then there are some people who say no, plan Bs are important. You know, it's good to fall back on. What's your take on that?
I see both sides. So, you know, this is rather extreme, but if your plan is to go become the next NBA star, okay, you need a backup plan.
Right.
In case your ACL or whatever gets torn, you know, you need a backup plan because you're not going to forever play basketball.
That's true.
You know, so there are certain, you know, industries that require a backup plan because you know this is not what you're going to do forever.
Right.
But at the same time, I do believe that in certain aspects, certain industries, certain areas that you're going into, when you go full throttle, you're going full throttle. I can't fail. So what is the backup plan? There is no backup plan. The only backup plan I encourage people to have is have a plan for finances. You know, some type of plan that you have put in place, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get things up and running and, you know, off the ground and things of that nature. So for me, you know, and this is admittedly a fear for me. I have not walked away from corporate America. That's admittedly a fear for me. And I have, you know, I think I quit one time and went right on back, and, you know, that type of thing. But admittedly for me, I like the guarantee that on the first, I will have a paycheck in my account, no matter what. So I can do all my other little stuff, but I won't get paid, and I get free health care.
Right.
So it's part of the little perks.
Right.
I don't got to pay for that.
Right.
So those are things, that's admittedly my fear. But I will, you know, I was having a conversation last night and was talking about some other business adventures I have going on right now that we're in the process of launching and doing and things. And so when we were having the conversation, I said, you know, it's going to become a time when I'm going to walk away from corporate America. And I'm going to go full throttle, like this is it. Because I can't juggle the complexities of what I do for the state and then juggle at least 3 or 4 businesses and things of that nature at the same time. So that day will come. But I do think that there should be a financial plan. No other plan, a financial plan.
And you know what? I think when people bring up plan Bs, that has a negative connotation in a certain way. And I don't agree or I don't accept plan Bs, because I do look at it like, if you have a backup plan, I think it's failure. I think it's your perception, right? And so what I mean by that, guys, is instead of saying, oh, I got a plan B, or I got a backup plan, have your different streams.
Right.
You know, right. So instead of, you know, saying, oh, well, if I break my leg, playing basketball, football, or this doesn't work out, then I'm gonna fall back on this. No, make that another stream.
Right.
So if something happens where my health declines or I have to quit playing football, it's okay because I have another stream set up right here.
If they were smart.
Right. It's not a backup plan. Okay, it's an extra plan that's already in your overall. It's like an umbrella,
right?
And all of those different streams are under that umbrella,
right?
And I'm like, if you look at it like that, then you won't see it as failure,
right?
You'll say, okay, well, that stream ended. Now we're working on these other, right? We're gonna pour that energy into these streams and then possibly create another one. And so whenever I love asking people that question because, you hear people and they do answer out of fear, oh, you have to have a backup plan because this is not guaranteed. It's like they turn to Professor Plum, because that's what they sound like. I mean, whatever. But I'm just like, you guys, you can do it without, having the thinking capacity of that's not gonna work.
Well, that's again, because it is about perception. That's also about writing your vision and making it plain.
That's true.
Because you don't start off with that many streams of income.
That's true.
And so when I say a backup financial plan, that means you have sat down and you have thought, okay, I got this one going on now. In about a year, I'm gonna launch into real estate.
Right.
And then another year, I'm gonna do this. So then now you have multiple things going on. What is the plan financially? Because you want multiple streams of income to come in. That is really how you're generating with real estate. All that's really where the wealth and stuff like that is. People forget that paper money. That's the idea. Money is an idea.
Yes, it is.
And so you have to also be able to generate a currency that flows constantly. Whenever you don't have a currency that's not flowing, then you have a recession.
Right.
So if you're not constantly having some type of stream, then your life is going to have a recession somewhere. So you got to have a financial plan so that there is a constant current coming somewhere, so that even if a rock blocks this one over here, that water still flows somewhere else. That's your financial your plan here. And
you know what? Don't just have a 6-month plan.
Absolutely.
Or a 1-year plan. Most successful people plan their lives in 20-year increments, 10-year increments. They do the bigger picture, then they start breaking it down. But it makes you be intentional, is what I'm saying. So, Mia, do you think there's a blueprint to success? Like, is there a formula? Is there a step-by-step plan that, hey, if you do A, B, and C, you'll become successful?
I will say this. If there is a blueprint for success, someone did not pass it to me. Okay?
That's that black ceiling.
I mean, there might be.
Right.
If there is, somebody didn't give it to me.
Right.
So I don't know. What I know is what worked for me. Right. It's kind of like how, back in the day, I don't know how far back in the day they used to say, the real prayer warriors get up at 5 a.m.
Right.
But I don't know who picked 5 a.m.
Right.
Actually, I don't know how picked 5 a.m. But somebody picked someone who would remain nameless right now. They picked 5 a.m. and had everybody, the whole country getting up at 5 They had everybody getting up at 5 a.m. laying on their face, and then half the people was peeking out the eyes like, what am I supposed to be doing here? That's not the success of my prayer life. That's the success of your prayer life.
Right.
And so, I think we have to just be really careful when we're giving blueprints because those blueprints worked for you.
Right.
And we can give tips and counsel and consult for success.
Right.
But my blueprint probably ain't gonna work for somebody else because, I had some detours. I left the country a little bit. I came back. I moved to another state. I did things that people thought I was slap crazy for.
Right.
They did not agree. I mean, people thought I had left God and everything else just because I moved to another country. Like God went in another country.
Right.
What are y'all talking about?
Right.
So if there's a blueprint, I missed it and I created my own. And so that's what I tell everybody else. Just make sure you have your ear to God. And that you have good, people around you, and let that be your blueprint. Take the successes and the nuggets of other people, because I also don't believe in recreating failures. If you know something don't work, Don't go do that. But your blueprint may look different, and it may be something that you can establish as a legacy for your children if you are like me, first generation of pretty much everything. So it just really depends.
And you know what? When we think about order steps, right? The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. When we pray, God, order my steps, don't expect your steps to look like somebody else's. That's your order. And so I love that you said I created my own blueprint, because that's what happens. That's really how you get to success. God gives you the strategy. We know in Deuteronomy it tells us God gives us the power to obtain wealth. And I tell people all the time that power is strategy, that power is wisdom, that power is knowledge, that power is tools. You have to go get it.
Absolutely.
And so we think, okay, God's just going to zap my hands and then I'm going to touch something and then boom, money. Absolutely not. No. My dad told me when I was very young, he said, sweetheart, you're sitting on somebody's idea. That chair you're sitting in right now, somebody thought about that and now that's turned into money. Those cards I'm holding in my hand, somebody thought about that and it turned into money. That necklace, those glasses, whatever you want to call it, everything you look at was an idea at some point. And so it's like they had a blueprint for that. And I guarantee you, if you go back and you look at the blueprint for all of these things, just looking around, they are not the same. They are not the same. And so I like to ask that question because, of course, we live in a society of self-help. 10 steps to money wealth. 5 steps to have your own company. Only 1 step to fail. We get all of those little catchphrases and people fall for it. They pay for these conferences, they go to workshops, and I'm not saying they don't help. But what I am saying is don't let it. Exactly.
It's just a tool.
Exactly.
But you also have to make sure that you pray for the wisdom to keep what you get.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I see and hear a lot of, especially I've been a member of a storefront church, I've been a member of a mega church, I've been a member of a medium-sized church. But one of the things that I noticed about being in a mega church is that my pastor had the ear gate of very popular celebrities, politicians, and they would come. And people like that won't come if they don't feel safe. If you've been given favor and the success to speak into the life of a person like that, you gotta have the wisdom on what to say and what not to say when you get there. And a lot of the times, it's an irritant for me. But taking pictures of people when they're at the altar and they're receiving prayer and they're receiving the word, or hearing somebody get up in the middle of their message and saying that they, saw a particular celebrity or somebody and God gave them a word for that celebrity and they told that celebrity this, and that. And it's like you're trying to build your personal ministry at the same time you're losing trust. And so whereas God could have been building you up, he had ordered your steps to line up and have a certain thing, you just talked your way out of it. Because they're not going to come into your presence anymore knowing that what they told you is free game for the pulpit. So you got to have the wisdom on when to speak, when not to speak, how to keep it. It's wisdom for success. In your mouth, I wrote a book called Escaping the Mouth Trap. People don't understand that your mouth is literally will talk you out of your success.
It's so true.
Every time.
So true. So true. Now, Mia, we're at the end, right? And so this is the question that everyone is always waiting on every week, every month, however you want to say it, is entrepreneur what? What is it that you wish you knew before becoming an entrepreneur?
I think I've already addressed a little bit of this. I wish I had known about the tragedy of Black Girl Magic. I really do. Because I was so green and naive. I really was. And so I went into that in ministry that way. I went into it, in corporate America. I went into it thinking that everybody's on your side.
We're just one big ensemble.
We just one big old happy family, I went into a lot of situations that way and had to learn that is not the case. And so you have to be wise. You have to have strategy. You have to, fashion your words a certain way. You have to learn that when people are asking you questions, they're really not asking that question, they're asking a different question. You have to learn when you're being baited so that you don't bite the bait. And for me, I don't know if it's happening. I ain't hit 40 yet, but it may already have happened in my life. I just say stuff. So when I feel like you've baited me and asking me a question to get another question, I just say, look, just ask me what you want to know.
Right.
You know,
right.
Just go ahead. What is it that you really want to know? And when I do things like that, they're like, oh,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I'm very straightforward. I wish I had known in my 20s that people will do that. They will set you up and they will put you to, you know, have little plots based on, you know, things that they ask you and things of that nature. But now, you know, not so much. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, you want to know what? Oh, okay.
Right.
What else you want to know? Oh, okay.
And then most of the time when people are asking questions, I know I've experienced this, where people are baiting you. And, you know, they'll try to project things on you.
Right.
And then when you finally spill it, they can't handle it.
Right.
And it's just, it's always comical. And I told myself not too long ago, actually this was a couple of weeks ago, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to let myself be baited into that no more, because the way Zanya is set up, it's like, once I see, I'm like, oh, this what you want? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Then they was all literally just like, you know, that's too much for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, the next time, shut up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was just an extra tool, y'all. Y'all take that tool with you.
Take that baby thing is real.
It's very real. It's very real. Mia, what I want you to do before we close out is I want you to look at the camera and tell everybody about your company, how they can get information about it, your website, as well as your organization, and ways that they can get in contact with you. Because, of course, you know, people are going to reach out. They want more information. I just want you to give all your information.
Sure. So if you are looking for consulting, counseling, you're a leading lady, whether you are a first lady of a church or you are a pastor, you're an entrepreneur, you are a wife, a mother, you work for corporate America, and you're just kind of looking for some balance and strategies, looking for someone to give you some counseling tips and things of that nature, you can reach out to me at mjohnson@girlsinpearls.co. Okay, so mjohnson@girlsinpearls.co. And then for additional information about the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the Dallas Metropolitan Chapter, you can look us up on the internet at www.ncbwdallas.org.
Awesome. Listen, thank you so much for Mia for joining me, for being transparent, for giving all your knowledge and your wisdom. I appreciate you. Listen, if you are an entrepreneur, you got her information. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to her. But also, y'all know every month, every first Tuesday of every month, we highlight a new entrepreneur for the entire month. So you'll still see this episode that we're shooting right now every Tuesday this month. If you need to go back and get more information, share it with your friends. Get this information, because you don't have to be an aspiring entrepreneur anymore. You can become an entrepreneur now. And if you are an entrepreneur already and you are watching us and you're like, I have my company, I want to share my journey, I want to talk about the ups and downs, I would love to be on ZMR Ministries, listen, reach out to me. I want to know about your journey. I want to read about it. And then you never know, you may be sitting right here across from me, where Mia is talking about your company and your journey as well. Listen, thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Another episode of Entrepreneur What? Tomorrow is Wednesday, so you know what time it is. It's another episode of What's the Issue Wednesday. We have another great hot topic, some special guests, and we're going to be talking about some great things. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. Listen, thank you for your support of ZMR Ministries. You guys have a beautiful and blessed night. See you later.
Thought you could break me, but I'm still together. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting wiser, even getting better. Thought it would break me down. Thought it would give up now. But I'm getting stronger. I'm getting wiser. I'm getting better. Yes, I'm still together. Bruised but not broken. Just the word was spoken. And ain't nothing better than me. Got something real great on the inside of me.